So I'm working on this kit bash for the Cawdor walkers to turn them into some like AdMech dog guys, and well, it's going okay, but I'm feeling kind of meh about the entire thing. But like it's more than nothing. It's kind of less than something. But I got a video to make, so gotta maybe push through on these guys, or maybe pivot. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Toast Hammer. Now, what are you supposed to do when you run out of motivation for your projects? Well, I got one real easy answer for you, which is stop working on them. If you're feeling burnt out, luckily for those of you not under the eternal treadmill of work that is running a YouTube channel, you can simply not work on a hobby. After all, hobbies are by definition something that we do for fun. So if you're not having fun with it, go do something else. Read a book, play a video game, do any myriad of other activities. But hey, let's say you're like me. You got, for some reason, a miniature building hobby channel, and you got a video deadline coming up. What are you supposed to do in that case, Toast? Well, work on a different project. Usually, I like to leave a couple on the back burner working in simultaneity in order to make sure I always have something to work on if I don't feel like working on one specific project or another. This week, however, was a little bit of a different case. My backlog of projects and of video ideas was recently wiped because, well, I moved to a new place and I've been dealing with a couple of other sort of social priorities and things of that nature. And thus I was left with this. Me talking to you guys right now about how to not burn out on your hobby. But hey, if you, for some reason, only have miniature building and painting as a hobby, and you're burnt out on that, and you don't want to start any other new hobbies, and you don't like video games or reading books or watching movies or hanging out with friends, this is literally the only thing you can do, I would recommend getting a piece of paper and a pencil, start learning how to draw, because, well, it'll improve your freehand skills, and chances are if you're painting minis already, the transfer of skills from painting minis to drawing on a paper or two-dimensional canvas would work pretty surprisingly well. I think you'll find that the attention to detail and the muscle control, fine motor control needed to move pen across paper is not too different from what you've been doing already. I'm not here to just talk about how I don't have a video this week, because I did decide to switch it up, and I did decide to do a little test piece that I have been meaning to put out for a little while now. And now that I finally have hobbied myself into a corner, I figured I might as well just see what happened. So my theory was that zenithal priming with sort of a white over a black undercoat is actually maybe the worst way to do a zenithal prime, especially if you're doing something like the slap chop method, or something in which the zenithal underpainting is very important to your final effect. Like maybe if you're working for a lot of inks or filters or something like that. So I ran a little test. I have my first model here, zenithal prime the normal way, starting with black and then just a dusting of white on the top. This is a lightly kitbash mini that represents my Dark Heresy role-playing character, who is a insane death cult assassin, and she's a lot of fun to play. And then I took this other mini from the Rogue Trader Kill Team box and decided to paint him in purple and sort of like a light flesh tone. And the reason I chose those two colors specifically is due to a property that we call relative lightness. Now, when you're dealing with colors on the color wheel, things have a lightness and darkness relative to each other despite not having any specific black or white added to those pigments. For example, we consider purple in its most base natural state to be a darker color than yellow, even if none of them have mixed black or white pigments respectively. That's just sort of how our eyes perceive things. So I took this dark purple base color, which is not dark at all, it just is purple, and applied a relatively lighter coat to the top, which is in fact not in realistic terms much lighter, although this is a mixed paint, so it probably has some degree of white added to it, but it still gives us these nice warm tones. And off the bat, this looks much better and way more interesting than our normal Zenithal Prime. Now, to best carry out this experiment, I thought it would be prudent to give it as good of a test case as we can. Well, not doing a specific scientific experiment, I tried to use the sort of base application of what I thought this technique could be used for. And to get the most drastic results possible, I decided to simply apply some black contrast paint over both of these models to kind of see specifically if the difference in Zenithal had any effect whatsoever, because every other condition on the model is pretty much the same. And I gotta tell you, the result was absolutely kind of disappointing. I'm not sure if it was the contrast paint being too good in its coverage or not transparent enough, or perhaps I needed to thin it down. All I did was use it out of the pot. I haven't really used contrast paint in the past, so this was also sort of experimenting with that. So I think there were a lot of things that maybe could have gone better. Maybe the color I chose specifically is too opaque for this use case. I don't know. There turns out when you're not doing a scientific experiment, there's a lot of variables that end up being uncontrolled for. And well, a scientist I am not, but I do think it was worthwhile to at least see what would happen, because I do think that there still is value in this technique, especially if you are working with very explicitly transparent mediums like inks or thinned down oil washes, things of that nature. I think you will find that the result is more noticeable and will give you a richer outcome in your painting if you are relying on these sort of underpainting, priming techniques in order to aid your painting process. It just, in these conditions, didn't seem to work out for me. But hey, what are you gonna do? I think the theory still holds water. I'm definitely gonna experiment with it more, maybe applying some more transparent paints to see if we get a better result that way, or to see if just doing normal painting over it has any effect at all. But hey, this is kind of a weird video because I'm kind of in a weird spot in the hobby. We're going to get back to some normal content next week. But in the meantime, if you liked this, feel free to throw out a like. It would help out the channel a lot. And what do you think of this Zenithal technique? Have you heard of this being done before? I think Ninjon has done a similar video in the past. And how did you get out of your hobby funk? Let me know in the comments below. As always, stay subscribed so you don't miss a single video, and I will see you all next time. Peace!